Okay, guys, I'm about to start. I'm gonna give myself a countdown. 1 second. Okay. Hello to everyone listening in, and welcome to the very first episode of the MSFDN Unfiltered podcast. Honestly, from all of us here, like, we're just so excited to finally get this ball rolling. Just with all the planning that has gone into all of the work that we're putting into making this podcast, and now we're live and we're actually rolling. So yeah, man, I'm just really excited to finally get this started. But I just want to quickly talk about what this podcast is, just because we're going to have viewers who don't actually know what MSFDN's Unfiltered podcast is about. Basically, the MSFDN Unfiltered podcast is going to be a podcast based on young people trying to gain a career or just a lifestyle or hobby in anything creative, professional, or personal that helps them. And we're going to be looking at a whole lot of different topics to do with that. And it's basically going to be mainly pros and cons, but still a lot of topics that isn't necessarily a pro or a con, but just a discussion in itself. So yeah, I'm also your host, Raz. I'm joined by the amazing co-host, Cheyenne. And this week, we've also got some guests joining us who are Natasha and Sarah. And without further ado, let's get started.
Now, to kick off the whole podcast, our first point of discussion is going to be about trends, hot topics, and basically the impact they have. Will they last, and is there a recipe to being a lasting trend in our day and age? It's also going to be looking over the different platforms that a trend can really be a thing on, such as social media sites and their role in trends, gossip pages, newsletters, and so on. Just to start off the discussion in the best way I see it, the first thing to ask is, what's the best way to define a trend, and what factors really turn something into a trend?
Okay. Just to get everyone's conversations flowing, I think the best way we should really start it is sort of just looking at a trend face value, like what is a trend? And to me, I feel like a trend in itself is someone coming on to social media or any form of media and having an impact that is so respected or so iconic that other people choose to take that and re-implicate it themselves. So it could be me making a cool dance move on TikTok and then other people coming through and thinking, yeah, that's quite cool. And it gains a lot of traction and then everyone else starts to do it. Or, I don't know, someone having an interesting form of perspective on something in the world right now and they choose to have their own take on it, whether it be music, whether it be film, and everyone else starts to sort of like the idea and then implicate it for themselves. But I think what's important as well when we're trying to talk about identifying a trend is what actually makes a trend gain traction. What do you guys think?
I think that a trend gains attraction when you, like, say you post something, and if it's something that's popular and you've got quite a good following, I'd say you're more likely to get your trend out there than someone who hasn't got a lot of followers. But then sometimes it is just down to if you're lucky or not. Like, sometimes on my TikTok, I will do a trend, like I'll see a dance, I'll do a dance. And then one time I'll get, like, I don't know, 3,000 people see it. And then another time I'll do another trend and only 30 people see it. It depends what time it is and things like that. You've got to do it in the right kind of place and time, if you know what I mean. So I think it's luck and also followers and things like that.
The idea of luck, though. See, that's the thing, innit? Because I feel like it's also not luck. And the reason why I say that is because I feel like a lot of people could be on social media, could be really talented at whatever it is they're trying to do, right? But if they don't have the following, as in an immense amount of people looking at what they're doing, or they don't actually have previous traction, how are they actually going to be able to have a trend that lasts anyway, or even create one? Do you get what I mean? I just feel like, yeah.
Yeah, no, of course. I think sometimes it is down to time and place as well, because with TikTok and things like that, that's like, there's trends in a lot of things, like new ways to do makeup, new ways to do your hair, new styles of fashion and things like that. That there's trends in a lot of things. But when I think of a trend, I do think of TikTok a lot, because I see people doing dances, and then I will see other people doing dances, even coming down to people doing ones where they're just talking and they're just funny things and things like that. Like, that's still a trend. But I think with time and place, if you think of it as, right, I'm trying to get this many people to see it, you need to think of the times when people are more likely to be on their phones. So the times that people usually work are 9 till 5. So people on their way to work are more likely going to be watching TikToks than what they are when they're in work, if you know what I mean. So I would say like 8 to 9 and 5 to 6 would be the best times to post and things like that. And that's to get your views, if you know what I mean. But that's how you get your trend out there, is when you know what to do with it, if you know what I mean.
Oh, okay, I get what you're saying. So you're basically saying like, oh, if I wanted to have a trend that I wanted people to see, I need to be someone who's also marketing myself wisely.
Just thinking about it and actually want to try and get it out there. Like, if you're going to make your own trend that you want people to follow on for, you need to think of ways where how you're going to get it out there. And but if you're just copying someone, then you need to think of like how you're going to do it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get you. But do you know what? That's made me think about something, innit? Because I feel like, yeah, you actually got a point. Like, trying to market what it is you're trying to promote or what it is you're trying to do is a great way of gaining a cult following, or at least letting people catch on to your trend. But you see what I think is the real issue? It isn't the trend itself. I think it is the difficulty to market it right now. Do you get what I mean? Like, if we really look at social media or just media in itself, everything is so, what's the word I'm looking for? It's so mediated that you can't actually like really say, oh, everybody has the same opportunity. Because if I was to now think to myself, because I like to make music in my spare time, it's something I find as a hobby. And if I was to say to myself, right, I'm gonna make a track and I want it to be trendy and all this and that, if I don't have all of the favorings of those who actually run the media sites, like Instagram is heavily mediated, so is Twitter, so is Facebook, so is YouTube, you know? How am I actually going to get my image out there without the backing of these social media sites? Like, even the way that we see things on our phones or on our laptops or our devices as a whole, like, we don't actually get to see necessarily what we want to see. We are shown what they think we should see. And I think that's the real issue. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I think so many people are trying to do the same thing sometimes, where it is so hard to get out there. Like, it's so hard to put yourself out there. You've got to work so hard to get where you want to be. Like, even if it is just trying to, like, if you're making music and you're singing a song or something like that, like, you've got to put yourself out there, because just posting a post isn't going to get you there. Do you know what I mean? I feel like nowadays it's so hard to get where you want to be, because so many people are trying to do like the same thing. You either have to pay for promotion, or you need to have the brains to do promotion, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, you're right. Do you know what? It's made me think about something else as well. I was actually at Sony Music Entertainment in London, and I was doing a little performance there. But it was actually like an event where they was getting in loads of people to talk about different topics. And I remember one girl she went up on stage and she spoke about the impact of TikTok. But the thing that stuck to me was what she said about Lil Nas X. She was like, "Oh, how?" She asked the question. She was like, "Oh, how many times do you think Lil Nas X posted on TikTok in 1 week prior to the release of his album?" What do you guys actually think? Like, give me some guesses right now.
I think that singers, they is he a singer? I don't know who he is. Not gonna lie, but I think that they do that like probably to get as many views as they can, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but what how many? Like Ellie said 20. You're a bit far off. What do you think, Cheyenne?
Mm, I don't know, like a bit of a hard one. I think I think he would have posted like at least 50 something times, or like, I don't know, not too much, but he's got to post quite a bit. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like any release of any album. To be fair, like, if you follow any singers, I mean, if you're a big singer, like it's easier because you've got them fans there. But if you're like a small upcoming singer or something like that, you've got to do more. Like I'm trying to think of someone who's not as big. Like I don't really listen to like small singers. I just listen to like rappers and stuff. But even they have to promote. Like if you look at Young Ads, he has to promote so much. Like if you go on his Instagram, he's got like all these albums and things like that, like being promoted from himself. Even like LB, any singer at all will have to promote their stuff on their Instagram and stuff, and they have management for that too.
Yeah, I do get what you're saying, but this is the interesting point, right? All you guys are saying 100 times. He posted 150 times every single day. Now, that's not like with A&R backing, helping him. He literally went out of his way to post a different post 150 times every single day for a whole week until that album released. Now, if you take that into perspective, a new up and coming artist, someone who won't have like a social media backing or anyone such of the sort, is probably going to have to post like 10 times more than that just to
Yeah,
get the same impact. Do you get what I mean? And I think that's crazy. And just the idea of having a trend that sticks, you've got to do so much more
yeah.
without the backing of so many different people. But yeah, Sarah, you wanted to say something.
I was just going to say a good example is RD. He came basically from TikTok himself I think it's 7 months ago now when he started, but because his music was catchy and it became a trend, it blew him up to this bigger person, and now he's obviously global.
Yeah, it's true. I feel like as well, it's interesting when you think about obscurities like that because for RD, it was probably completely different in his perspective. Like I went to uni in Brighton when RD was basically making a name for himself. And I'm telling you right now, over there, he was very, very, very popular way before the nation had heard of him. And I think that is something that we need to take into accordance itself is like, even though, yeah, you might have all of this attention around the circles you have, still, again, to gain that following, he's got to get so much further than what he even perceived. Do you get what I mean? And now he's sitting at a place where he's genuinely comfortable and he's got these trends and these TikToks that are following him up and all of this sort of stuff. And yeah, man, I think it's just interesting to see the impact or the amount of work you actually have to put in to get that kind of impact. You get what I mean? Sarah, go right ahead.
I wanted to talk about the types of trends because when I was younger, a trend to me was, oh my god, someone's got the this new hat and it's a baseball hat. Everyone has to have this hat. But I think now when you get older, trends seem to change. Like now it's like, oh my god, there's this dance. I want to get famous from this dance. Let me try it. And I think that could be a problem for the younger generation.
Yeah. That's true. Do you know what? I'm not even going to speak on it because Tasha wants to say something. Go right ahead, Tasha.
Can you guys see me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that's probably why it's so hard to like maybe get that video that goes viral the first time round because there are so many people trying to do the same thing at once. It's just like, do you know what I mean? Everyone's just hitting this roadblock, and if you're not like posting that, you know, thousands of times a day, it's going to be hard for you to squeeze through that gap. Do you know what I mean? Because there are so many people onto the same thing, but at the same time, people are trying to like make it their own. But I think sometimes that can get lost as well because it's like at that point, what do you do now? Do you follow the trend like fully to the T so that it can like blow properly the way you want it to, or do you like kind of sway off a little bit and add your own style? But then it's almost like your chances of you going viral won't is not as high because it won't fit in with the trend, if you know what I mean. So I
I
think it can be a bit like it's a bit, I don't know, but that's why like things like posting at the right times and following the right people, it goes hand in hand. You know what I mean? You have to find that right balance.
Do you know what? That's such a good point, man, because I couldn't tell you how many times I might have went on social media and just seen the same thing 100 times over. And it is that point. It's that middle ground. It's that whether or not you're trying to make something that stands out, or whether or not you're trying to stick with the genre or the focus of what everybody else is trying to do. And that's the point, is like, say for example, exactly like you said, if someone came through and they're doing something that's completely original, they're doing it because they want to break through. They don't want to be a part of the sheep per se. But then the actual issue is, the sheep is what people are interested in. That is the trend. So it's like, once you try and break away from that trend, do you have enough impact that people want to hear you? Probably not. And that's the issue, is like, I feel like the only way, for me personally, my opinion, is if someone actually wants to make a trend and branch out and be original and be different, is there has to be some form of similarity to what we see right now. And that's the actual issue that I personally find. And social media, in my opinion, brings a lot of that. Because if you go on social media right now, like Sarah was saying before, with, oh, this person's got this snapback, I want this snapback. Or this person's got the Jordan 4s or the Jordan 1s, I want them too. It's like, damn, if you now get a pair of Pumas, who's going to say they're nice crepes? Nobody's going to say that, because they want the Jordans. They don't want them. And it's like, yeah, even though, yeah, they might look nice. Yeah, they might be nice. Yeah, they might actually be nicer to wear. They might have more colorways. Nobody's going to want them because nobody else has them. Do you get what I mean? And I feel like that is the real issue right now. Do you get what I mean? Sham, what do you think about that?
Yeah, you say that. I have actually been like that in the past. Like, I remember when Puma things were a thing and they had like the ribbon on them. I think a lot of the girls who know what I'm talking about, they had like ribbon around them or something like that. And I brought a pair, and I tell you now, I never wore them in my life. Like, I just brought them because everyone had them, and I never wore them. I didn't even like them. Like, and in the end, I literally had to just chuck them in the bin because they was just taking space up in my wardrobe. But like nowadays, like these Stephen Maddens, they're new trainers that are out. Like, I've brought like 3 pairs of them. Do you know what I mean? Like, because everyone likes them and everyone's got them. And like, I look at them and I'm like, oh, I do like them. Like, I love them. Like, I wear them all the time. But I wouldn't have got them if no one else had them, because I feel like people would be looking at me like, what are those? Like, you've got some glittery things on your feet, like. But that's what happens. Like, you see people with stuff like Canada Goose coats. Like, people would say, oh, it's cruel, but then people will go buy them because everyone's got them. Like, anything really. There's so many things that people get because people have got them. Like, Louboutins, they're not a big thing right now. But back when I was in school, they were such a big thing, like, and everyone wanted them, and then people would get so upset because they couldn't afford them and stuff. And then people were feeling like, oh, well, these girls have got them, or these people have got them, and I can't get them. And it makes them feel terrible. And I feel like with some trends that are expensive, it does have an impact on people's mental health too.
Yeah, you know what? I'm glad you touched on that, because I feel like, I will get to you as well, Tasha. I did see you raise the hand. The thing is, yeah, it's so mad because I don't think people realize the impact, the negative impact of a trend. Like, there's so many positives, obviously, for the person or for the people that are able to join in on the trend. It's entertaining. You feel like you're part of a unit, a community. That's why so many different things right now that are going on are wholeheartedly accepted, because everybody who's a part of it feels as though they're accepted. But I think the thing that is not understood is, what about a person who can't have that, or can't do that, or can't be a part of that? Say, even the clothes. Like, I know what, the past 2 years, if you didn't have a Nike Tech fleece and you just had some simple Slazenger outfit, a lot of people are not going to be impressed. And it's like, damn, like, does it really matter what clothes you wear? But apparently it does. So it's like, imagine how the person who doesn't have that and has the thing that nobody wants feels. Like, the effect, it must be monumental. The form of anxiety that person has when they're around their friends and they have all these nice things that you don't have, or just the form of depressed feeling that person would feel for not having what they want. Do you know what I mean? I feel like that's a crazy thing to just kind of get your head around. Sarah, go right ahead.
I think that can kind of go into TikTok trends as well, because there are some people that can't do dances, but it's also some people who literally do the exact same dance, the exact same sound, and then they don't make it, and they're like, "Well, what did I do wrong? What's wrong with me? Like, am I not pretty enough?" And I think that's I think most of the mental health comes from the backlash on social media and how you feel when you don't make it, when you see everyone else make it.
Yeah, that's definitely true, man. Like, obviously, this is more of a thing that I want you girls to talk about, innit? Because I'm a guy, I won't know much about that. But I do, from like face value, like I can definitely see with a lot of these TikTok dances and a lot of these beauticians and things like this, like the trends that are going on right now in regards to a female's image. It's like there's so much you guys actually have to put up with and do just to be able to be accepted in the same way as the other female right across you. So I really want to know what you guys think about the trends in regards to beauty and fashion and things like that. Tasha, go ahead.
Obviously fashion is always like evolving and stuff, but I feel like at the moment on TikTok there are like 3 different categories that you could fit into when it comes to fashion. There's like the, you know, really classy, and then there's like the indie type, and do you know, they're just like all sorts. And it's just sometimes I look at it and I'm like, sometimes I ask myself like, I don't even think I fit in any of these, like, so it makes me feel bad, because it's like all day every day you're just like scrolling and you're swiping and you're swiping and you're seeing all these girls and like wearing all these cool things, and sometimes it's like, okay, you know, maybe I could fit into that, but it's like I might not have the money to buy it. Do you know what I mean? So in that case, I don't know, it definitely does like impact your mental health, I feel like. But what can we do to like help those, or like to like support those who do feel that way or aren't in the same positions that others are in?
Do you know what? I want to direct a question to you, yeah, because I like what you were saying there, but I just want to ask to see what your opinion is. And obviously, any of the other girls or boys, if they feel like, just join in and tell me what you think. Do you feel like, see what you were saying about how there's trends in what women wear and how they look on TikTok and the kind of dances and their impression? Do you personally feel like there is a form of necessity for you to fit into one of those branches? Or do you just feel like that's something that everyone experiences, but you're not too bothered about?
Personally, the kind of person I am, I don't follow a trend like too tough. If it doesn't feel natural to me, I won't really do it. But I think I don't really want to speak for everyone, but for me, I wouldn't. But if I do see something, it's like, okay, like, yeah, okay, like I kind of like I grow towards that. Do you know what I mean? It's like, okay, yeah, this could work. I think as long as it feels natural to you and you're not doing anything to make yourself feel uncomfortable, or feel like you're like I don't know, what's the word, like not unappreciated, but like not um I don't know, like you can't mold into the crowd or something like this, then you shouldn't really like put yourselves in that situation and follow things that you don't feel like comfortable in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand you completely. I feel like that's the difficulty though as well. Do you know what I mean? Like it's it's like, even though I myself personally might not feel so, what's the word, desperate to be a part of a trend, there's a lot of people that live in a world where they don't have a lot of, you know, companions or friends or accomplices, and then it is that social life that sort of clings to them, and then they feel as though there is a desperation in them that they can't control to be a part of something that makes them feel comfortable. So it is mad. Sarah, go right ahead.
I think the problem is the expectations the media have on people, and it's not just girls. There are guys out there, like, for example, if you're a rapper, you're going to compare yourself to the big rappers out there and the ones that do get shown, the ones that do get accepted to these GRM daily pages and that. And I think that's another big problem, because going back to, say, dyeing your hair, if you go in the shop and go get hair dye, that model in the box does not look like that in person. She's probably got hair extensions in, she's probably got eyelashes on, she's probably been blemished. And I think that's the problem. We try too much to be like these people who aren't real themselves.
Yeah, that's completely true. You know what? Yeah, you hit a bit home with the whole GRM daily rapper thing, because man, like I've made music for a while, innit? And I really do enjoy making it. Not for the sense of, oh yeah, I want to do what everyone else is doing, because that's just not how I look at it. But I can't even sit here and say that me going on to, you know, these pages where there's loads of rappers who are famous and are doing things with themselves. I can't sit here and say I don't wish that I had the same things that they do, because I do. Otherwise, I wouldn't be making music. Do you know what I mean? And I think there's a lot more deeper to that as well, because it's not just about it's not just about what they do. It's more about what they've achieved doing what they do. You know, like every single rapper that you see on GRM Daily, they've got the expensive car that rolls by. They've got all of the drip, the Christian Dior's, do you know what I mean? And everything they talk about and what they speak about in their songs is reflective of what they're showing. And even though they might have it all rented, it might be a rented car. The clothes might have been given to them because of sponsors. They probably go to the club and they're paid to go there. But it's just the image. Do you know what I mean? And that hits home for a lot of people who are trying to do the same thing. Go right ahead.
I want to go back to trends. It's I think what people need to understand is these people make it far because they do take the trends, but they add their own twist in it. Like, I've done it myself. I've been in the kitchen practicing a TikTok dance for a good 2 hours straight, and I'm like, why is my hip not moving like that? And then I criticize myself. I'm like, are my hips not big enough? Can I not do that dance move? And then I noticed, looking through other videos, people add and take things away from their dance that is tailored to them. And again, I think that's another problem. People look at the first thing and they have to go from that, and that's where mental health comes into it as well, because like I said, you'll be in the kitchen, you're like, well, why is my legs not doing that?
Yeah. I completely understand that. And you know what? I think it's also a lot to do with, like, when we're linking back to the whole idea of a trend, it's a lot to do with attention span that the media sort of impose on people. The whole idea of TikTok is, ooh, I don't like this, swipe. Ooh, I don't like this, swipe. Ooh, I don't like this, swipe. There's never an incentive for someone to sit there and look for a long amount of time. We know that these reels are only supposed to be 15 seconds long. And I know that I was doing a study when I was in school during sixth form in media, and we was learning about attention spans. And I think it was like the generation who are now, what, 40, 50-year-old, their attention span was probably 30 seconds to a minute, sorry. Our attention span and the attention span of people younger than us is no longer than 4 seconds. That means a person can have an impression of you within 4 seconds and know whether or not you're interesting enough, you're acceptable enough for them to continue watching. And then alone, you're probably only going to get 2 more seconds of them. So it's like, damn, these trends that we're really trying to chase, they're really taking a lot from us and not giving a lot back. Do you know what I mean? Tasha, go ahead. Oh, sorry, my bad. Yeah. Does anyone actually have a view about that? Because I'd like to hear what you guys say.
I was gonna say, as someone who's like done dancing before, and obviously been in that situation where I'm not good at some things, but I'm good at some other stuff. It's not particularly something that you've got to look at yourself at and think, oh, I can't lift my leg that high, or I can't do that with my foot, or something like that, because I used to be good at things like ballet and lyrical and things like that. Whereas then sometimes, like Streete and things like that, I was terrible at. I couldn't do all the fast dances, but if I was doing a slow dance, I was good at that. It's just really what you're good at in yourself, not particularly what you're not good at, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do get you. I think it's more like, if you ask me, the way that I would say a person could make a trend that sort of doesn't have a negative effect is just to, in a funny way, not do it to be a trend. Do you get what I mean? Like, see, if I watched a video, I can't remember who the rapper was, and I've said this a lot, but it's something that sticks by me, is I watched this video of a rapper who's very successful. I just can't remember who it was. And the question they asked him was, how did you manage to build this empire that you've got right now, you know? And the only answer that he felt was suitable was to say, I did it for myself. I just didn't care what other people think. And I think that is kind of the irony of a trend, is like, if I now go onto social media with the intention of making a trend and spend hours trying to be a part of a trend, I am not going to be a sufficient trend. Do you get what I mean? But if I sit there and try and do the best of what I can do for myself to look back and enjoy it for myself, I'm probably going to get the impact that I want. Do you get what I mean? Tasha, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, another thing that could make it easier is like just like what Cheyenne was saying, like finding what you love and maybe like practicing that, and then from there you could do things like finding your niche online, and because that's already what you love, it would be a lot easier for you, and the chances of you like getting that backlash or feeling bad for not doing something that you can't do is a lot less because you're already doing what you love and what you can do. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's another thing as well, like following people that are like you, that may look like you and can like have the same abilities, or like that just do exactly what you do basically. I think that could definitely like help when it comes to mental health and stuff, because you know that the competition will be there, but it won't be, it would be like it's focused on one specific thing. It won't be so many different things that you have to try and be good at. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you completely. I think it's also what you're saying would be so much better for people because then the competition won't be at the forefront. Your personal development would be. The things you're actually trying to achieve would be. Instead of being better than the next person next to you. Sarah, go ahead.
I just wanted to build on what Tasha said about finding your niche. I think that could go for all platforms as well on social media, because once you have one thing, that's what people expect from you. So if they go to your Instagram from your TikTok, let's say, they probably expect to see that niche over there as well. But I think that could be a problem as well, having one niche, because the social media is a very horrible place and there's not enough support for everyone, unfortunately, and people don't seem to support each other either. Like Tasha said, it is competition constantly, no matter what platform you're on.
Yeah, do you know what? It's so true, man. Like, I know I talked about it before, but I'll speak on it again because I feel like there's more to say. Like, the whole idea of social media being mediated, there's levels to it. It's not just the ones who actually run these social media pages that mediate you. It's actually the fans, the people who watch as well. They will not choose to watch something that doesn't coincide with what they want to watch. And so in itself, you're also battling people for their attention. And that kind of mindset of, oh, I want to be heard, or I want to be seen, I want to be looked at, I want to be liked, that in itself is a battle for so many people. That is, it's a monumental battle, man. Sarah, go ahead.
It goes back to influencers, for example, like Molly May. If you say one wrong word, the media will take that one wrong word and it will be Chinese whispers, and that does have effect on the people and the niche that they choose. For example, because she works with Pretty Little Thing, there was such a big backlash on Pretty Little Thing, but because of that one comment, people decided to go deeper and deeper into the situation. And I think that's why people want to be like influencers, or they want to be like these music people, but they're generally scared to take them steps because you never know what you're going to say is going to go out there. You don't know who's listening, you don't know who's going to twist your words, and people like to hide behind their screens, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's so true, man. I think as well, like, just the idea of people actually being there, not to support your growth, because one thing you've got to remember about social media and just people in general as audience members is you could do 100 things that are great, that are well respected, but if you do one thing wrong, it topples the whole domino of good things you've done. Like, I can't remember who it was, but there was another influencer who's very famous and she's a presenter on so many different shows. And I think these news pages had went back in her timeline on her Facebook or something, seen something that she said that was quite controversial and brought it to the forefront nearly 10 years later. And what that almost done for her was ruined her career. So it's almost as if you're you're battling so hard to just keep where you're at as well. And I think that is more difficult than getting to the top. It's like being in first place in your head is a hard battle, but staying there when other people kind of don't want you to stay there is even worse. Sarah, go ahead.
I wanted to use another story I see recently. There was I'm not sure if people saw it, but there was a 13-year-old boy who got beaten in London by a group of teenagers, and it was posted. They posted it on the I'm Just Fake pages and things like that, and it went absolutely viral. And this poor 13-year-old boy ended up in hospital, and it was quite horrible. But I think this is what annoys me: is influencers don't take note of this. But there was one, I think it was a singer. I can't remember what singer. I think it was It's Silky or something. And he actually went and met this 13-year-old boy and was like, "What do you want to do for the day?" And this little boy was like, "I'm just happy to meet you. Like, you're an inspiration. You're going to change my life." And from that one singer taking a stand and saying, "This isn't right. Like, this should not be done. Let me help you. Let me give you like some confidence." From that one person, the video was taken down. No one wanted to post it. Everyone was kind of sharing the influencer story like, well, this isn't right. Why would you do this? And I think that's the problem. The media will advertise good and bad, but bad more until someone big on social media or in the world comes in and actually says, well, that ain't right, actually.
Yeah, that's so true, man. Like, even with those sort of posts, like, we all see them all the time. We see a lot of posts about violence or just things that aren't right generally, things that people shouldn't be entertained by watching. And you could go into the comments on half of those posts, probably more, and there will be one person who genuinely says, "That ain't right. Why would you post that? That's made me uncomfortable to watch that, and I feel really sorry for the person involved." But you see what the problem is? The person who doesn't have the impact doesn't get a say. And that is the real issue here. It's like, I have to be someone who people respect for me to have a say on something that everyone should have a say on. And that is another con of social media in itself. And the whole idea of, oh, does your trend really have an impact? Well, first of all, do you have an impact before you start thinking about your trend? Go ahead, Sarah.
Going back on social media, sharing bad news, I think that's the problem, because some people will use the social media to get a message across personally for them. I've noticed quite a few have done it recently to footballers. I don't want to state any names because they're quite bad accusations, but they do use their fame and their followers to kind of take their side of the story, because once someone puts something on their story and they're such a big influence on people and they have all these followers, everyone else kind of takes that opinion as well, and no one kind of wants to see the other side or the other story of things. But in some cases it obviously does help some people, but I think that's the problem with media. People use it to their advantage to share negative things, and that's why it's so big on more negativity than it is positivity.
Yeah, I can definitely see that as well. Like, I've seen a lot of social media pages that are just pages that report news happening in the society around us. And it's like, if they have a problem with someone, they actually do use their page to voice their problem. And because they are trending, or they're trendy, or they keep in fashion, it's like the people who are following them for some reason feel as though that person's entitled to say something bad. So I'm going to agree with them. You don't even know what they're talking about. So it's almost as if like they genuinely are sheep. And it's like, damn, what are we actually doing here? Are we all just here to follow the voices of those who we find impactful? Or do we actually have a voice of our own on social media? And the reality is, in a lot of the cases, we don't have a voice. And to me, personally, that's a real negative of trends, man. Because if someone's trending or they've created a trend, a lot of people just follow for the sake of following. They don't actually know whether or not what they're doing is wrong. Do you get what I mean? Like, even if we're going back to clothing, like, I know a lot of people in my society do not have a lot of money, but they will certainly choose to go out and spend their money on untold amounts of expensive goods. And then they'll get on a bus and they won't have the fare. So it's like, why are you choosing to live a life of trend if you haven't got a life of prosperity? In my opinion, that just ain't right. Has anyone got any point to do with that? Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
I think it goes back to the media and it kind of telling you who you should be. And I think that's the problem. People listen to the media, they'll listen to what they hear, they'll listen to the news, and no one does their research. They're kind of blinded by the real world. And I think that's the problem, because all this new technology is upgrading and it's coming out and everyone wants the free cameras on the back of their phone now. And it's like, what do you need free cameras for? And I think that's the problem. People are looking too high up, and they need to look at what's in front of them. Like, if everyone spent a week without their phones, I guarantee the news would die, media would be dead, people would interact more, there'd be more outdoor activities, there'd be more things going on. And I think that's the problem, is media and the news has kind of taken over everyone's life and kind of sectioned us and put us in our place of who we should be and who they want us to be. And again, I think that will take a toll on mental health as well.
I think
Absolutely. Sorry.
when I was a kid, like a proper kid, we would do things like we'd go out to like places like we'd go on little holidays like Pontins and Butlins, and we'd go to all these little places. Nowadays, I look at kids just like, I don't know, 9, 10, and they ask, their mum says, what do you want for your birthday? I want a phone. I want to have a TikTok account. I want an Instagram account. When I was 10, all I wanted was like them Moxie girls and bloody all these dolls and reborn dolls, toys, everything. Like, my mum would never have let me have a phone at the age of 9, 10, because nowadays, even when my child grows up, she will not be having a phone until she's about 14, like 15, until she needs one. Because I feel like children nowadays, you go around someone's house who's got a child and they're stuck on their phone, and I look at it as in, they're never going to know the world. Like, they're never going to know what go-karting is or anything like fun, because all they want to do is sit on their phone. And I feel like with kids nowadays, it's not healthy for them, and I feel like it messes with their heads a lot, and that's when they grow up to just be phone like prioritized. And I don't think it's a good thing to have. If I grew up on my phone constantly, God knows where I'd be now, because I see the world as it is. Do you know what I mean? Like, I actually have I'm streetwise and things like that because I've been brought up around the world, not just on my phone. Whereas my little cousin, she's always on her phone and she hasn't got a clue. She could never go out to the park or anything like that.
Yeah, that's so true, man. Sarah, before I get to you, I actually want to talk about that, because I feel like we all talk about trends, yeah, and we think about, oh yeah, this person that's done this and da 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 da. We don't actually think about the younger generation as well. Like, I'm pretty sure a lot of us have younger siblings or nieces or nephews or cousins, and we all have seen that our childhood, where we wasn't so focused on the trends of social media and going on TikTok and all this and that, it had a much better effect on us not having anything to do with that. Like Cheyenne was saying, where I was always going to the park, I was always going out with my mates. My birthday, I wanted a bike. I didn't want a phone. I didn't want an iPhone. I wanted a bike. I wanted something to do, something active. And every week we'd probably go out, or do you know what I mean? And the trips to Chesterton or Fort Park and all these things like that. These are things that make our community thrive without the need of a digital lifestyle. And now, fast forward, 10, 15 years later, we've all got a niece or a nephew who's so addicted to using their phone and is thinking about body image. Why would you think about that prior to the age of 20?
Now,
like, you shouldn't.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, it's something that's so true, man. It's like, you don't need to think so much about how you look or how you're perceived at a young age, because social media is always going to be focused on the best of everything. And that's not real. Sarah, go right ahead.
Does Cheyenne want to talk quickly first?
I was just going to say something. Nowadays, like, you go around your friend's house or something like that. Like, I went around my friend's house yesterday to have like a cup of tea, and you're just sitting there glued to your phone. Like, you're not even talking to each other. Like, you've gone around your friend's house and like you're not even talking. Do you know what I mean?
I just wanted to play devil's advocate. I think, like, back to what you were both saying, when I was younger, I used to have to beg my mum to go out after school, and then you'd have the curfew, and I'd be like, oh, but I don't want to go home. Like, my friend's staying out till 9. Just give me an extra half hour. Or it'd be like, oh, I've got this football club, I want to go. Like, I used to do football, believe it or not. And I think the problem this day is because adults are so glued to their phones, it's rubbing off on kids as well. So, you know, they don't have the motivation to take their kids to the park and that. Like, my son loves going to the park. I take him nearly every day after school or soft play. And I think it's good stimulation for them, because I've noticed from my friends' kids, when they're on their phones a lot, they seem to have so much anger built up, and it's giving them this kind of mind frame to have, and it's a bit scary because, again, what the news says, you get all these people on the streets who are just wanting to end lives and things. And again, I think that's why parents are generally scared to send their kids out and say, yeah, you can go to the park, you can have 10 minutes or whatever, go out the front, play with your kids, because the world's gone so downhill, I guess, from the news and the media.
Yeah, no, you're so right, man. Just like the thought of having a child in the world today, like, I respect anyone who does, because it would worry me to actually have a child, because I'd be worried about what they would think about themselves in 5 years' time, 6 years' time, at the age of 6-year-old, thinking, oh, should I be like this? Should I be like that? Like, I watched a video that broke my heart the other day. I was watching a woman doing braids on her baby child. I'm pretty sure the child was no older than 5 years old. Wonderful little girl. And the girl looked at the camera of the phone and said, I'm ugly. And her mum was like, what? What do you mean you're ugly? You ain't ugly, you're beautiful. And the child started crying. Now, if you guys don't think that that is an impact of a child probably being in a life where the digital world is telling you, you need to be pretty like this, you need to be slim figure, you need to look like this, look like that, that is heartbreaking, and that is a real negative. Do you know what I mean? Sarah, go ahead.
I just wanted to add a good point because I've turned out really negative there. The new film that's come out, Encanto, there was actually I think it's a little boy who saw this main character on the TV and he was like, Mummy, it's me, look, it's me. He's like, I can't believe it, they put a black person on TV. And I think that was so sad to have to be so excited about something like that. Like, that should just be a natural thing. And I think that's a problem, again, coming down to the media. They kind of show us what we can't have in the world, I guess. Like,
Yeah,
they create a big imagination picture.
yeah, it's exactly that, man. Like, I was studying stereotypes in the media when I was in sixth form. I think it was my second year, and we was really looking deep into like stereotypes. Now, the stereotypes in media are exactly the same as trends on social media. They are two and the same. And the reason I say that is because when you go onto TV and you watch a particular type of show or you watch an episode, you're seeing people that you're designed to see. Understand what I mean? They put a certain particular type of person in a particular scenario. They'll put a middle-aged, underpaid person who looks middle-aged and underpaid into a situation where they are and make them talk middle-aged and underpaid because that's what they want them to look like. And that, and again, is a trend, an example of a trend, a stereotype in itself. And it's like, damn, have we all actually, throughout all the years that we've been living, really been showed something because we were supposed to be showed it or because we actually wanted? Because in my opinion, a lot of the stuff we see is only because we have been told that that's what we need to see. Same with trends on social media. If I see some outfits or someone doing whatever it is, or the music that we listen to, it is because we've been told, right, this is what's popping. I think you should take a look at it. And then you start to like it. But genuinely, do you really think you like a lot of the things that you see because you like them? Or is it because everyone else likes them? Literally, I want to see what you guys think about that.
I think trends should be changed nowadays to things that's in the actual world, like getting, I don't know, like real life situations, as in like as a woman, I get scared to even walk down the road sometimes because there's so many weirdos about, and like the amount of things that I've seen on the news lately about like old people snatching little girls and stuff like around my area is just disgusting. Like waiting outside people's schools and stuff to take little girls and little boys, and it's just absolutely disgusting. And I feel like if trends was changed into something that like we could make awareness of that, and maybe them weirdos could actually realise the wrong in it, then maybe the world wouldn't be so disgusting.
I do get what you're saying. I feel like, even though I'd sort of have an opinion that it's not so much a trend that people do that stuff, but there is definitely a group of people that they are around or that they agree with that probably agrees with the sort of disgusting things they do. And I feel like the problem is definitely awareness. Do you know what I mean? Awareness that certain things are not cool, rather than social media always focusing on, right, this is the cool stuff. This is cool. This is cool. and then choosing what agendas are not right. For example, wars across the world and how some are documented other than some others. And even though, no, it's not good to paint everything with a different brush, like everything's horrible, I just think, damn, like, why aren't we seeing everything? Same way, why are we always seeing certain things that are promoted rather than seeing things that should be put down? Do you know what I mean? It's such a mad little world we have on social media, and the way that it's progressed over the past few years, I'd say what an average person probably uses social media 6 or 7 hours a day. Definitely. Do you know what I mean? And
I'd say,
probably some a whole lot more.
yeah, definitely more. I sit on my phone. Sounds terrible, but I sit on my phone near enough all day. Like, some days I will watch TV, but like some days I'm literally glued to my phone. Like, I will not take it out my hand. Like, literally, even like going downstairs and, I don't know, cooking some food or doing something, I'm still on my phone. Like, it is bad, but I feel like a lot of people are like that nowadays.
I wanted to speak on that, Shine, because actually I do that myself as well. But I find, even though I'm on my phone 24/7, I will still not reply to messages, or I'll still miss things. And it completely baffles me how I can sit on my phone and I can be so shadowed and like hidden in what I'm watching that I don't take a look at my surroundings. Like, generally, the slide down on the screen, how do I not see it? It's such a problem at the moment. And I think social media should be used to support people, because if kids are going to start using technology more as well, they're going to be affected by what they see.
That's so true, man. Like, I'm pretty sure we can all agree that there have been countless times we've all used our phone, have had 6 or 7 messages lying there, and we just haven't replied. And it's not because we don't want to reply. If you ask me, it's actually conditional from you using social media. The more you use it, the lack of interest you have in other things. And that genuinely is true. Like, if I choose now to spend, because I'll be honest, I'm one of the few that really doesn't use their phone that much. Like, I probably only use it 3-4 hours because I just do other things, you know what I mean? But like, I still think if I was to now sit here and really engage myself on social media, I think that the effect of doing that would be I have a lack of interest in a lot of other things. A lot of young people, probably in a lot of really rare scenarios, don't even feel like getting up and doing stuff. Will become really lazy, unbothered. Do you know what I mean? Sarah, go ahead.
I think you're really right there. It does make you lazy, it does make you unbothered, and I think this is why parents and carers tend to just chuck a phone at their child, because then they get to sit down for 10 minutes and just be in their own little bubble, but they don't realise the effect it's having on their kids. Like, if you're going to give them a phone, try and do it positively, like download a numbers app and go through the number line with them. Or I don't know, I think our phones and technology have kind of taken over the world. Like they said, they're going to bring out robots soon instead, and the cars are all changing, and I think it's a big problem for kids to come into this world without having technology in their life as well, because that's where most of the news we get is from as well. Like, let's be honest, no one sits and watches the news channel on TV unless we've seen it on their phone and we're like, actually, I might need to go on Sky News quickly just to double check what that is. But I think that's the other problem. Parents don't watch what their kids are doing on their phones either, and the media is horrible, and there are people out there who are going to go through things that they shouldn't be put in that position, but it's because they wasn't being watched that they've now been put in that situation. And sometimes it can be dangerous. And going back to what Cheyenne said, that's when people come in, like old men who are hiding behind screens, and it's quite scary to think about that parents do just chuck their phones at children and potentially blame themselves for things that do happen.
Exactly. Do you know what? I really feel like it's important for me to touch on this as well. We all used to love watching, well, I mean, we all love Love Island at some point in our life, right? Now, I'm going to talk about it because it is like genuinely a serious point. Love Island became a trend in a very serious way, in a very, very short amount of time. Do you know what I mean? And the people on the shows, they were genuinely celebrities from the moment they walked in the room. Now, obviously, we've all heard about the real heartbreaking situations and people who have taken their life just from being on the show and then coming back into the real world. Realize this, yeah. They spent 6 weeks on one show. Within that 6 weeks, the nation felt as though they were entitled to have an opinion about them that was so correct that they really felt, yeah, let me actually inbox this person and say what I think about them. And that's horrible. Like, that's how. And then what? At the receiving end of it, when they come outside of this fake world and they come into the real world and they get their phones and they see these messages, how many hundreds of people do you think would have actually messaged that person to make them think, oh, I don't like living? Like, that's horrible. And that in itself is the impact of a trend. Do you know what I mean? Before I get onto something else though, Reese has said, how can MSFDN help the community with these problems and situations? You know what? I want to direct this to someone. Cheyenne, first you. Tell me what you think.
I feel like there's a lot of things that can't be fixed by anyone, but if we was to try and help anything in any situation, it would be to put awareness out there, maybe about the bad points of social media, or maybe how to be safe, or maybe workshops on I don't know, like how to be a bit streetwise and what to do when you're in a bad situation. But I feel like in general there's not a lot that anyone can do to fix anyone nowadays. It's more about just keeping yourself safe and using things in the right way.
Yeah, exactly. I do agree with you. Sarah, go ahead.
I think MSFDN could help. As they say, they help young people from, I can't remember the ages, I think it's 18 to 20, 30. And I think that's the age where you start to come into social media a lot more. And I think MSFDN can provide that kind of support, because that's what they're here to do, I guess. But not only support, but kind of feel like a friend and bring other people together that can help each other, because we all have different things going on. We all have different things we can do, and we can use them to our advantage to help each other.
Yeah, I do agree with you both. Do you know what I think as well is, like, when we're thinking about the kind of roles that we all want to do in life, whether it be professional, creative, or personal, like MSFDN has already like proved that they are there to aid people in that. And I feel like if we're really thinking about the impact of a trend and how people can market themselves or just protect themselves on social media, like all the things we've been saying, MSFDN is genuinely like, they can do that. Do you know what I mean? It's a thing where I feel personally being a part of someone's journey also means helping them, teaching them to market themselves properly. Because I couldn't tell you how many times I've put something up on social media and been anxious about the response, or at least been worried that it's not going to get into the right hands. Sometimes it's worked out and sometimes it's not. But if you ask me what the recipe is, I wouldn't be able to tell you. It's a cross your fingers type approach. And I feel like that's something that MSFDN definitely would be able to help with. Do you know what I mean? But even without MSFDN, what are some of the ways you guys actually would think someone could help themselves with something like that? Do you know what I mean? Because I think the problem with social media is the only thing we can do for ourselves now is a trial and error approach, where we put something up, we hope that it goes well, and if it doesn't, we try again. But it's that trying again that really hurts people. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I think it goes back to the stigma of Instagram and that as well. Everyone's so focused on how many likes they get, how many comments they get. But I think if you have that support group, that's where your likes and comments will start. And that's where you will start to feel better about yourself. And other people will then look at you and go, oh, well, they've got like this. Like, how did they do that? And then you'll find that people might actually come to you for more help. So I think I guess there's good and bad sides to look at it, but I think the only way you can help yourself is to have confidence in yourself, to go that extra mile and to be able to achieve what you want. And going back to what Tasha said about the niche, finding your niche that suits you and sticking with it. And then I feel like once you have something you're passionate about, you're able to show that a lot more through your profiles on social media.
Yeah, exactly. It's so true, man, because say I wanted to do something with myself and I wanted it to be documented on social media, a lot of people will probably just say, yeah, just research, find out how to do it. But that's the thing. There's no one size fits all with social media. Do you get what I mean? So it's almost a thing where you sort of have to do it for yourself, if you get what I mean, and just find out where your footing is, where your niche is, what your focus is, or what your aim is. Because if you don't really have that personality that you want to portray on social media, or that image that you want to portray, then I think it's a lot harder for you to actually gain an understanding of who you want to be, not just on social media, but as a person, because we all know social media is a big part of our lives right now. Do you know what I mean? Tasha, go ahead.
I think definitely being yourself as well is just like the bottom line. Just being yourself, it will make you feel comfortable doing whatever, you know, putting yourself out there on social media. And I think if you have that security within yourself, like, then those naysayers will be there, but it's almost, you know, because you feel confident within yourself, it's just you brush it off your shoulder kind of thing, you know. And I think that's the only thing that we can really do to ourselves to, you know, make ourselves feel better in any situation, is just be yourself and do what feels natural to you, and, you know, everything else will fall into place.
Tasha, though, this is the question, though. Do you not think, yeah, that it is the difficulty of being yourself on social media that is the problem? Because I'm telling you right now, when I go on social media, I will find it hard to be myself, because social media don't just allow people to be who they want to be and get attention. Do you know what I mean? Sorry, Sarah, me can see you. Go right ahead.
Sorry, I had something to add. I didn't want to forget it. I think what Tasha's saying is completely right, but I think we need to have, again, that support to learn to take the negative comments and make them a positive. So if someone's in your DM saying you're not going to do that, you can't be this person, you need to use that to your advantage and not, I know it's harder to say than do, but not let it affect you, and kind of take that as a kick up the bum and say, you know what, I can do it. Let me show you I can do it. And then actually when I come back round, I can come to you and say, what was you saying? And I think that's the problem. People take them negative comments and they take it too personally. Why should you care what a stranger thinks? They're not going to help you. Their comments not going to make you any worse or any better. And I think that's the problem with the support. There's not enough support. And if we have that, people are going to thrive a lot more. People are going to feel more freely to be who they want to be.
Do you know what? That's so true, man. Because if you really think about it, when you go on social media, you don't hardly know any of the faces that are impacting with what it is you're trying to do. Most of the biggest artists in the world, they simply cannot know their fan base. So they're just doing what makes them feel happy and then waiting for the response, whether it be good or bad, regardless. And I think it is that whole, you know what? I'll take everything with a pinch of salt. I'll take it on the chin kind of approach that really does help on social media. Because if I was to now put up a post and I see people saying, wow, that is whack, why are you doing this? Don't bother. I that could hurt someone. Do you know what I mean? And that could really stunt their growth. But it's about being able to say, you know what? I didn't put this up here for you. I put this up here for the people that will enjoy it. And I think that in itself is probably one of the best approaches to actually gaining a trend or gaining a following, if you get what I mean. But counteracting myself again, that's the difficulty, ain't it? Because not everybody can do that. Not everybody has the will to do that. And I think that in itself is the difficulty of social media. Do you get what I mean? Tasha, what do you think?
Yeah, I think from then, if, you know, in that situation, then I think you have to start looking at your surroundings and your environment and who you have around you to, like, you know, obviously it depends on, like, the people around you, they shape you as well. If you're going to be around people that, you know, aren't strong mentally to say, you know, yeah, I did get that bad comment, but actually I am going to turn it around and show this person wrong, prove this person wrong, it's going to be hard for you to do that as well, because you're not getting that support or that motivation from somewhere else. So, you know, trying to, like, surround yourself with people who do have a positive mindset and who are forward thinkers will definitely change your mindset as well, and will help you when it comes to, you know, making yourself feel like just being happy when it comes to social media.
That's so true, man. Honestly, I genuinely actually agree with that. Sarah, go ahead.
Building on what Tasha said, once you do have that confidence and you do have that friend and family support that
aren't jealous to see you make it and are pushing you and are saying, listen, that comment's not going to do anything, you will connect with people on your journey along the way that are passionate about the same thing you are, and that's where you will get more friends that will help you and you will have a bigger support group. But it's just taking that first step to getting your friends and family and getting that support group closer to home first, and then that will, I reckon, help take off so much more.
It's so true, man. Like, if you think about the perspective of a person on social media, yeah, say they've got a business, for example, a business that they want to try and grow, or just, you know, like a form of hobby that they want people to see. I can guarantee you it helps so much more if you have people around you telling you this is a really good idea, go for it. Because what that instills in you is confidence in yourself, you know? Like, if when, I don't know, like Cheyenne was saying before with her dances, if everyone around her was telling her, oh, you can't dance, she probably wouldn't feel like it was something she wanted to do. But I guarantee you she had some form of support. Someone saying, yeah, go ahead and do that. Do you know what I mean? Same way. Sorry, go on, Cheyenne.
Do you know, you say that, there was one time these girls, so it wasn't really me, like my sister, she does a lot more dancing than me, and there was these girls and they kept commenting on her stuff, bringing her down. Like, they was actually making videos of, like, basically just mugging my sister off, like doing the dances she's doing but in a really nasty way. And we just thought, like, you are just so nasty, but do you think that stopped her doing what she loves doing? Of course not. That's her screaming now. But yeah, no, like, she's such a confident person and she would not let three little girls, like, upset her. Do you know what I mean? Because that's what she loves doing. And to be honest, I've had girls try and bring me down and say horrible stuff to me, and I just think, do you know what? I don't care what you say. Even other people, I hear girls talking so nasty about other girls, and I'm like, do you know what? What's that got to do with you? Like, leave them alone. Do you know what I mean? Like, I might not like them, I might not respect them, but I ain't gonna sit there and be nasty about them. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just not necessary. I wouldn't, if someone got well upset and hurt themselves or something like that over something I've said, I would never forgive myself.
No, I completely understand. But do you know what? In itself, Cheyenne, do you not feel like, oh, yeah, you were there for your sister when people were putting her down? Do you get what I mean? So that in itself did really instill a lot of confidence in her to just keep on and do her thing. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, she's just a nutter anyway. She just goes out and dances out and everything. Like, she's just nuts. She doesn't care about nothing. But I don't think I do either. To be fair, like, someone could say something about me and I just laugh at them. Say all right.
No, I do get you. Go ahead, Sarah.
I think that can bring us back to social media as well, because people who are trying to bring you down will look at your social media and pick things out that are obvious facts about you. Like, for example, I'm a young mum and I get that a lot with trolls. Like, people be like, oh, but where's your kid? Are you not taking after? And I'm like, it's 10 o'clock at night. He's in bed. Like, what do you want me to do? Lay next to him and stroke his head and make sure he doesn't breathe? Like, I think, what was I going to say? Yeah, people use your social media to pick facts out about you to use against you, but really it's quite a journey to learn how to take them comments and make them negative. And again, I think it comes back to what Cheyenne was saying. You need to have that family support and that friend support to not turn around and get jealous and not try and tell you what to do, but to say, like, even if you're given a good idea, you need that kind of friend who's going to turn around and say, yeah, that's good, no matter if they think it's bad or not, because you need to learn yourself as well, going through these stages and having that support next to you.
Yeah, exactly. I do agree. Do you know what, though? I've been thinking about it a little bit. I think there definitely has to be a middle ground when it comes to the confidence that others instill with you to continue with your craft. And what I mean by that is we do need inspiration, but I feel like we do need honesty as well. Do you know what I mean? For someone to actually have a trend that really has an impact or do what they want and do it to the best of their ability, they do need someone to tell them, look, do this way. Don't do it that way. And I think that's also a part of it, is not just everyone going, yeah, nice job, but instead just being like, hold up, why'd you do it like that for? You should have thought to do it this way. This way will help you. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's also something that's missing, is the lack of honesty rather than negative criticism, just honesty. Do you know what I mean? Because in this world, we're all here together. So why don't we all just work with each other to help that person achieve their means rather than being there and saying, look, let's level your crap. And that's just not right. Do you know what I mean? We should always do the thing that will help them and say, do this, because this will get you to where you want to get to. You know what I mean? Tasha, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna touch on what Sarah and Cheyenne were saying. Like, I think you guys are 100% right. You know, having that family there, that support there, it means so much. And one thing that I used to like let people, my emotions were very like easily swayed, basically. So people had a lot of control over my emotions, like literally just with anything. And one thing that I like would say to myself to kind of stop that from happening, because there were times I'd find myself like getting upset over the littlest things. Like Sarah was saying, like there are things that you know about yourself that people point out, and it's like it's an insecurity of yours. Obviously they may not know it, but it's like, oh, yeah, I know, kind of thing, and it upsets you. But one thing that I've learned to tell myself is that you are actually in control of your own feelings, and what they're saying is just words. And if you let it get to you, then you will see that effect. You will feel that anger, you will feel upset. But if you just say, look, like I know what it is, I know that I have this, I know what I am, I know what kind of person I am, I know who I am, and what you've said to me can't change that. Like, that doesn't define me, kind of thing. So just turning that round and letting people, like, let yourself love yourself, basically. I feel like that's where it all begins, really. Just by trying to love yourself. It may not be, obviously it's a lot easier said than done, and having that support around you will definitely help as well.
No, 100%, man. You're so right. Like, if we really think about just examples of people who have stood the test of time in any of the things that we class as a trend on social media, that person has 110% confidence in themselves. Do you know what I mean? And they genuinely feel like they're the best at what they do, and they always strive to be the best at what they do. And that's why they're there, and that's why they stay there. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like that's an important thing to always remember. Like, if we're really trying to do something for ourselves that betters ourselves, or at least go on social media and have that trend or have that focus or have that following and make an impact. Like, to make that impact, the most important thing is to understand you are the best person to make that impact for yourself. Do you know what I mean? You can't think that somebody else could do it better than you, because that's half the battle gone. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like that is something that we should all work towards when it comes to having something on social media that we want to gain a following with. Is always remember, above all else, that you're the best person for you to do what you're trying to do. Do you get what I mean? Sarah, go ahead.
I think the problem is people listen too much to what other people say. Like, for example, if someone's got a group of friends and they're out and they see some girl they don't like, they will listen to their friends who go, oh, this girl did this and this girl's horrible and she's like this. And that's the problem. People don't want to make their own decisions. People don't want to go and speak to that girl and make their own assumption on her, like, actually, she's really nice to me. Like, do you know what I mean? She hasn't done anything to me. That's the problem. People listen too much to their friends and family, which can have negative and positive effects. Obviously, if they're supporting you, then it's going to have positive effect. But if you're going to take what they say quite literal and not try and put your own opinion in it, then it's going to come out pretty negative for you as well.
100%, man. That's the thing, though, innit? That is sort of implications of what social media is. Do you know what I mean? Like, people do genuinely look at what the next person around them is saying and choose whether or not they want to believe. But 99% of the time, they'll just choose the most general point of view, and they'll stick to it. So it can be biased. Do you know what I mean? Like, everything can be biased in some form of way, especially socials. Like, if somebody has, say, for example, the other day I saw someone make a very controversial point, and they was basically saying, in the simplest terms, because I can't remember exactly what it was, and I don't really want to speak about the exact point too much, but they was like, if you look at this way, then why don't you look at this other thing that way? And they were two completely different points. Like, imagine two different ends of a spectrum and someone's trying to link them together. Now, in the comments, everyone's like, yeah, she's got a point. Yeah. And I just thought to myself, why don't I comment that she's completely wrong? Because they're not the same thing. And it was like the person who agreed with her and said exactly what they think and how they apparently are right got, what, 1,000, 2,000 likes. And then the thing I put, I'm not even sure if I got a like, because I'm doing something that I believe in rather than what everyone else believes in. And that in itself, that's the difficulty, ain't it? Like, just being yourself on social media can be the problem in itself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So having those trends and just, you know what I mean?
I think people do conform a lot, like, just because this group of people is doing it. Sometimes you may not even know why. Like, there have been a number of experiments, and it's like, you know, a bunch of people could be sitting in a room, and then all of a sudden they all just stand up, and this one person is just looking at them like, why are they standing up? The person eventually will stand up. Do you know what I mean? And it's just because everybody else is doing it, and you don't want to be the odd one out kind of thing. So you just do it. But then it's like, you know, in that case, why not speak out and ask? Like, you could just ask the person next to you, why are you standing up, kind of thing. And then from there, it's like you can make an informed decision. And, you know, I think that's what people forget sometimes. People forget that actually you are entitled to your own opinions. And, you know, you are entitled to have your own values and your own morals and whatnot. And just because yours is different from somebody else's doesn't mean it's irrelevant or, you know, it doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's another thing that we need to, like, try and support people. That's, you know, that's another piece of support as well, that, like, you need to let people know that actually your opinion does matter as well. And it's okay to, like, what do you call it? Like, get to know other people's opinions, because, you know, having just one perspective in life is it's not always, you know, the way forward. So being able to, like, have your own opinion and have a voice for yourself will definitely have a good impact on you as well and people around you.
100%. Do you know what? That's made me think about something, because I'm not going to say I'm the best of people when it comes to this, yeah? We all have our opinions about something. And if somebody chooses to disagree with our opinion, we all turn around, we're like, what the hell would you mean, kind of thing? Do you know what I mean? And I'll give you an example. I was with one of my mates and I was talking about an artist that I really, really like a musician that holds dear to my heart. And I told him, I was like, yo, do you not like this guy? Like, ain't he sick? And he just looked at me, he was like, I've never listened to him in my life. I think he's kind of rubbish. And that hit home. So I was like, you can't think that. How the hell can you think that? You haven't listened to them. Give him like 110 reasons why he's wrong. And then he said exactly what you said, Tash. He laughed at me and he was just like, mate, I have an opinion, respect it. And I was like, you know what? Fair enough. But that's the thing, innit? Like, I think that's the difficulty sometimes with social media, if we're bringing it back to that, is even though, yeah, face to face, I can have a little bit of a discussion with someone and say why I think they're wrong, and they can say why they think I'm wrong. But on social media, do you really get that option? I don't think so. Like, if 110 people have one opinion, you are afraid to voice your opinion. You genuinely are, because you can get scolded in comments just for having a different point of view. I've seen it myself. It's like, if somebody thinks something and then the other person comes through and makes a reply to them and says, nah, that ain't right, chief, or whatever they say. And then, you know, like, they have a back and forth and insults get thrown around. And it's like, why do you people do this? Why do people have such a strong emphasis on what they think is right on social media? Maybe it is the fact that it's not real life. They're behind a keyboard. They can say whatever they want and they don't think it matters. But then again, like, that is the problem, isn't it? Like, so many people get impacted by the fact that people say what they want to say and don't think about the feelings other people will have towards it. Do you know what I mean? I'm just thinking. I want to sort of round it off on a good point. All right, cool. So what I'm going to say to you guys is, do you think genuinely that social media has a good or a bad impact overall on the idea of a trend? What do you guys think? I'll give you my opinion last, but I want to hear what you guys think. Go ahead, Tasha.
I think, honestly speaking, I think it's what you make it. If you decide to sit there and listen to, the naysayers and decide to sit there and watch the bad comments and believe them as well, then you have fallen into the negative side of social media. Whereas if you see these comments and you then turn it around and, do what you love and only, do things at your pace and not really listen to the naysayers and pay attention to the bad comments, then obviously it will be hard, but social media will be a better place for you because you are able to see the positive in it. So I think social media is definitely what you make it. So yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah, I do get you. Go ahead, Sarah.
I personally think everything you post on social media has, say if it's a positive thing you're posting, it will have a negative side to it. And if you have a positive thing you're posting, if you have a negative thing you're posting, it'll have a positive. And I think how your social media goes and what way you decide to go, again, what Tasha was saying is how you perceive yourself, how you show yourself, how you show others around you, what you take notice of, what you show interest in. It all comes down to you and how you want your journey to go, I guess.
100%. I definitely agree. Do you know what? My point is, before we finally cut this off, is I feel like for every person that chooses to go on social media and just wants to do something that has an impact, I think the most important thing is knowing yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like actually understanding who you want to be, where you want to go, how far you want to go, and actually when you want to stop as well. Do you know what I mean? Because I think one of the most important things is people actually don't know where the stop sign is and they just keep following the trend so far. Do you know what I mean? Sarah, go ahead. I know you want to say something.
Sorry, I had one more thing to add. I think you get what you give on Instagram. If you show love, you're going to get love back. If you show hate, you're going to get hate back. So it goes back to just saying how you show yourself and what you let in, because it's easy to block people. If someone's annoying you, just block them. You don't need them. You don't need their opinion. They're not going to make you money. They're not going to make you famous. Only you can do that for yourself, and you need to have that love and faith in yourself to reach the clouds, because no one has given you a limit. There is no limit. The only limit is yourself. You can go as far as you allow yourself to take yourself and allow your mind to wander into this amazing imagination that you have about yourself and your dreams.
Nicely said. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Tasha.
Yeah, exactly what Sarah was saying. And with social media, we weren't given a rule book either. There are no rules to social media, so you can literally make it anything you want. And yeah, if you make it a positive place, it will be.
Nicely said. Do you know what, guys? I think we've had some really good points here. I just want to say thank you to everyone who actually took part in this, because it's actually been a joy to just be able to sit here and talk with you guys about things that actually matter to all of us, you know what I mean? And yeah, thank you for joining. I hope you guys can definitely join us on the next one and have a wonderful day.
Thanks
See
for
you guys
having
later.
me.
Thanks for having
Take
me.
care, guys.
Bye.
You're welcome. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.